Imagine a force so cunning it masquerades as pleasure while enslaving your will, so seductive it promises fulfillment while delivering emptiness, so pervasive it infiltrates every decision you make before consciousness even awakens. This force has toppled emperors, bankrupted kingdoms, and reduced titans to beggars. Yet what if conquering this force isn't just a liberation? It's the most potent strategy for commanding respect that any soul can master. Machiavelli understood what modern minds refuse to acknowledge. Respect flows to those who demonstrate mastery over their basest impulses. When you deny lust, you don't just free yourself. You signal to the world that you possess something rarer than gold: self-sovereignty. And in a world drowning in indulgence, the abstinent become aristocrats. The weapon of restraint. This isn't a sermon against desire, nor a call for monastic withdrawal. This is an invitation to wield your restraint as a weapon, to transform your discipline into dominance, to convert your self-control into social currency. For in the theater of human interaction, those who master themselves inevitably master others. Lust extends far beyond carnal appetite. It encompasses every craving that compromises your judgment, the hunger for immediate gratification, the thirst for validation, the addiction to stimulation. These appetites make you predictable, and predictability is the enemy of power. When others can forecast your reactions, they control your responses. Consider the businessman who compromises ethics for quarterly profits, the politician who trades principles for polling numbers, the leader who sacrifices long-term vision for short-term applause. Each demonstrates lust in its most sophisticated form, the inability to delay gratification for greater gain, and each forfeits respect in direct proportion to their submission to impulse. Nietzsche proclaimed that he who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Machiavelli refined this insight: he who cannot command himself cannot command others. Your capacity for self-denial becomes your credential for leadership. When people witness your restraint, they instinctively recognize authority. The psychological mechanics are irrefutable. Humans respect what they cannot understand and fear what they cannot control. Your ability to resist what they cannot resist marks you as fundamentally different, not merely human, but superhuman. This perception gap becomes your strategic advantage. Think of the colleague who never loses composure under pressure while others crack. The entrepreneur who maintains focus while competitors chase every shiny distraction. The leader who speaks sparingly while subordinates babble anxiously. Each embodies the principle. Restraint creates reverence. Modern neuroscience validates ancient wisdom. Every time you resist an impulse, you strengthen neural pathways of self-control. Every capitulation weakens them. Dr. Roy Baumeister's research on willpower demonstrates that self-control operates like a muscle. Used regularly, it grows stronger. Neglected, it atrophies. Your discipline literally rewires your brain for dominance. But the external effects prove even more powerful. When you consistently deny immediate pleasures for long-term gains, others begin to study your methods. They seek your counsel, request your partnership, desire your approval. Your restraint becomes magnetic because it's so rare. Augustine of Hippo chronicled this transformation in his Confessions. His journey from hedonistic professor to discipline theologian wasn't just personal redemption. It was the acquisition of unprecedented influence. His writings shaped civilization precisely because his life demonstrated mastery over the forces that master others. The Stoics understood this connection between self-control and social control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself." The emperor who governed the known world first governed himself. Observe the patterns in your own circles. Who commands the most respect? Not the loudest voice or the most talented performer, but the person who appears least controlled by external circumstances. The secret isn't superior genetics or privileged background, it's superior self-mastery, the clarity of discipline. Lust creates dependencies, and dependencies create vulnerabilities. The executive, addicted to social media validation, can be manipulated through carefully crafted public opinion. The leader obsessed with sexual conquest can be compromised through honey trapped. The entrepreneur enslaved to luxury can be controlled through financial pressure. But the person who needs nothing external for satisfaction, they become ungovernable. This ungovernable quality makes them indispensable to others who remain trapped in cycles of craving and temporary satisfaction. Your independence becomes their security blanket. Consider how desire distorts judgment. The investor, blinded by greed, misses obvious warning signs. The romantic, obsessed with conquest, overlooks red flags. The social climber, desperate for acceptance, tolerates disrespect. Each demonstrates how lust impairs strategic thinking. Conversely, the disciplined mind sees clearly. Without the fog of craving, you perceive opportunities others miss and avoid traps that ensnare the undisciplined. This clarity of vision marks you as valuable to organizations, invaluable to teams, and essential to any enterprise requiring sound judgment. The Buddha identified craving as the root of suffering. Christ warned that whoever would save his life must lose it. Muhammad preached that the greatest jihad is against the self. These spiritual giants understood a truth that Machiavelli later politicized. Self-conquest precedes world conquest. Your restraint signals deeper truths about your character. It suggests discipline in other areas, reliability under pressure, and the ability to prioritize long-term consequences over short-term comforts. These qualities make you trustworthy, and trustworthiness is the foundation of all influence. Think of the military commander who shares his soldiers' hardships rather than indulging in luxury. The CEO who maintains modest living standards despite enormous wealth. The teacher who refuses to compromise standards. Despite student pressure, each earns respect through demonstrated self-denial. Strategic selectivity, not monastic withdrawal. But beware the trap of extremism. Machiavelli counseled moderation, even in virtue. Excessive austerity can appear as prideful display rather than genuine discipline. Your restraint should be obvious to those who know you well, but not necessarily advertised to casual observers. The goal isn't monastic withdrawal, but strategic selectivity. Choose your indulgences deliberately rather than submitting reflexively. When you do partake in pleasures, do so from a position of choice rather than compulsion. This distinction marks the difference between sovereignty and slavery. Leonardo da Vinci and Nikola Tesla, titans of creativity and innovation, reportedly practice sexual abstinence to preserve mental energy for their work. Whether historically accurate or legendary, these stories persist because they resonate with a deeper truth. Focused energy creates extraordinary results. Your sexual restraint particularly commands respect because it demonstrates mastery over humanity's most primal drive. If you can govern this force, others assume you can govern anything. This assumption becomes reality through the respect it generates and the opportunities it creates. The marketplace rewards self-control. Investors trust disciplined managers more than brilliant but erratic ones. Customers prefer reliable service over flashy but inconsistent performance. Partners choose steady operators over unpredictable talent. Your restraint becomes your brand. Study the great leaders throughout history. They may have differed in methods, but they shared one trait: the ability to delay gratification for strategic advantage. Alexander's military discipline, Gandhi's personal austerity, Steve Jobs' perfectionist standards. Each demonstrated self-mastery that translated into world-shaping influence. The ripple effect of discipline. The psychological principle of social proof works in your favor. When others observe your restraint, they begin to question their own indulgences. This creates a feedback loop where your discipline elevates the standards of your entire environment, positioning you as the natural leader of this upgraded culture. Your resistance to temptation also demonstrates immunity to corruption. In a world where most people have their price, the person who cannot be bought becomes infinitely valuable. Organizations desperately need individuals who won't compromise principles for personal gain. Carl Jung observed that neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. Most people avoid the legitimate suffering of discipline by accepting the neurotic suffering of endless craving. Your willingness to embrace short-term discomfort for long-term benefit marks you as psychologically mature. The practice begins with small denials. Skip the dessert when you want it. Wait an extra day before making an impulse purchase. Finish a difficult task before checking social media. These micro-victories build the muscle of self-control while demonstrating your growing mastery to yourself and others. Notice how differently people treat you as your restraint becomes apparent. Conversations deepen because others sense you're not merely seeking validation. Opportunities multiply because you're perceived as reliable. Respect increases because scarcity creates value. And self-controlled individuals are genuinely scarce. Your disciplined lifestyle becomes a form of soft power. Without saying a word, you communicate strength, focus, and purposefulness. These qualities are attractive to everyone: potential partners, business associates, friends, and even competitors who recognize superior self-management. The ancient Greeks distinguished between different types of love: eros, passionate; philia, friendship; and agape, universal. When you master eros through restraint, you unlock capacity for philia and agape. These deeper forms of connection command more lasting respect than temporary passion ever could. Your abstinence from immediate gratification also signals long-term thinking. In an age of quarterly reports and instant everything, the person who can wait stands out dramatically. This patience makes you valuable in negotiations, strategic planning, and any context requiring delayed payoffs. Consider the entrepreneur who reinvests profits instead of lifestyle inflation, the athlete who maintains training discipline during off-seasons, the artist who perfects their craft rather than seeking immediate fame. Each demonstrates the mindset that creates enduring success and commands enduring respect. The physiological benefits compound the psychological ones. Abstaining from excessive indulgence increases energy, sharpens focus, and improves overall health. These improvements make you more attractive, more productive, and more influential, creating an upward spiral of increased capability and increased respect. Tools for mastery. Your journey toward mastery requires community. Seek out others who share your commitment to discipline. Iron sharpens iron, and the company of the disciplined reinforces your own resolve while providing accountability for continued growth. Document your progress through journaling. Each evening, reflect on moments when you chose restraint over indulgence. Notice patterns in your temptations and victories. This self-awareness accelerates your development and provides confidence during challenging moments. Redirect lustful energy toward creative pursuits. The same passion that drives sexual desire can fuel artistic expression, an entrepreneurial innovation, or intellectual exploration. Tantric traditions teach this transformation, converting base energy into elevated purpose. Your breathing becomes a tool for transmutation. When desire arises, practice deep, deliberate breathing to transform that energy into calm focus. The 4 to 7 to 8 technique: inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, physiologically shifts your nervous system from arousal to relaxation. Physical exercise provides another outlet for redirected energy. High-intensity workouts, martial arts, or dance can channel sexual energy into physical mastery. The discipline required for consistent training reinforces your overall self-control while building additional sources of confidence. Your environment shapes your choices. Remove temptations from your immediate surroundings. Curate your media consumption to exclude content that inflames desire without purpose. Design your living and working spaces to support restraint rather than undermine it. The practice of fasting, whether from food, entertainment, or social media, builds your capacity for voluntary deprivation. Regular fasting teaches your body and mind that you, not your appetites, make the decisions. This sovereignty becomes visible to others through your demeanor and choices. Your relationship with money reflects your relationship with desire. The person who can delay purchases, invest rather than consume, and maintain financial discipline demonstrates self-mastery that extends beyond monetary decisions. This financial restraint commands respect from all economic classes. Study the masters of restraint throughout history. Confucius emphasized self-cultivation as the foundation of social harmony. Benjamin Franklin practiced systematic virtue development. Warren Buffett maintains simple living despite enormous wealth. Each understood that self-denial creates sustainable influence. Your speech patterns reveal your level of self-control. The disciplined person speaks deliberately, pausing before responding, choosing words carefully. Contrast this with the undisciplined, who blurt reactions, speak impulsively, and reveal more than they intend. Your verbal restraint signals intellectual mastery. The principle extends to emotional regulation. Others respect those who remain calm under pressure, who don't explode in anger or collapse in despair. Your emotional consistency creates trust, because people can predict your responses and rely on your stability. Your dining habits become a form of silent communication. Eating moderately, choosing quality over quantity, and avoiding gluttony signals self-respect and discipline. These behaviors are noticed and respected by everyone, from potential romantic partners to business associates. The practice of gratitude transforms your relationship with desire. When you regularly acknowledge what you already possess, the urge for more diminishes naturally. This contentment radiates as confidence and attracts others who are tired of being around perpetually dissatisfied people. Your sleep discipline demonstrates mastery over one of life's most basic needs: going to bed at consistent times, rising early, and avoiding the endless scroll of late-night entertainment shows that you control your schedule rather than being controlled by impulses. The digital age provides unprecedented opportunities for practicing restraint. Limiting screen time, avoiding endless social media consumption, and resisting the constant ping of notifications trains self-control while demonstrating that you're not enslaved by modern distractions. Your relationship choices reflect your level of self-mastery. The person who chooses partners based on character rather than immediate attraction, who maintains boundaries rather than compromising standards, earns respect from everyone who witnesses these decisions. The practice of silence, both literal and metaphorical, builds power. Speaking less makes your words more valuable. Revealing less about yourself creates mystery. Reacting less to provocations demonstrates strength. This selective engagement commands attention and respect. Your approach to conflict reveals your discipline level. The self-controlled person chooses battles wisely, responds rather than reacts, and maintains dignity under attack. These behaviors make you a valuable ally and a formidable opponent. The principle of delayed gratification applies to career advancement. The person who builds skills before seeking promotions, who delivers value before demanding recognition, who plants seeds before expecting harvests, commands more respect than those who seek shortcuts. Your learning habits demonstrate long-term thinking. Reading challenging books, studying difficult subjects, and developing expertise in areas that don't provide immediate payoff signals intellectual discipline that others recognize and respect. The practice of giving time, money, or assistance without expecting immediate reciprocity demonstrates abundance mindset and self-control. This generosity commands respect because it shows you're not driven by scarcity or desperation. Your maintenance of physical fitness requires the same self-discipline that governs other areas of life. The person who consistently exercises, eats well, and maintains their health demonstrates the kind of self-care that translates into reliable performance in all endeavors. The artistic pursuit requires restraint as much as expression. The musician who practices scales rather than just playing songs, the writer who edits ruthlessly, the painter who studies fundamentals. Each demonstrates the discipline that creates mastery and commands respect from peers. Your relationship with feedback and criticism reveals your emotional discipline. The person who receives input without defensiveness, who learns from mistake without shame, who accepts praise without arrogance, demonstrates the kind of emotional regulation that makes them trustworthy. The practice of solitude builds self-sufficiency. Regular periods of alone time, without entertainment, distraction, or stimulation, teach you to be comfortable with yourself. The self-sufficiency becomes attractive to others, who are constantly seeking external validation. Your approach to competition demonstrates character. The disciplined competitor focuses on their own performance rather than undermining others, celebrates victories with humility, and accepts defeats with grace. This sportsmanship earns respect even from rivals. The principle extends to intellectual honesty, admitting when you don't know something, changing your mind when presented with evidence, and acknowledging your mistakes demonstrates the kind of intellectual discipline that makes you trustworthy in important decisions. Your financial investments reflect your ability to delay gratification. The person who saves rather than spends, who invests in growth rather than consumption, who thinks decades rather than months, demonstrates the time horizon that creates lasting wealth and commands respect. The practice of meditation or contemplation builds the muscle of mental discipline. Regular periods of focused attention, whether through prayer, meditation, or simple reflection, demonstrate your ability to control your mind rather than being controlled by random thoughts. Your approach to technology reveals your level of digital discipline, using devices intentionally rather than compulsively, maintaining privacy rather than oversharing, and focusing on creation rather than consumption demonstrates mastery over tools that master most people. The cultivation of expertise requires saying no to many good opportunities to say yes to the few great ones. This focus demonstrates the kind of strategic thinking that creates extraordinary results and commands respect from everyone who witnesses sustained excellence. Your response to success tests your discipline as much as failure does, maintaining humility after victories, continuing to work after achievements, and treating success as a beginning rather than an ending demonstrates the character that sustains long-term respect. The practice of forgiveness, especially of yourself, demonstrates emotional mastery. The person who doesn't hold grudges, who learns from betrayals without becoming cynical, who moves forward without being dragged down by past hurts, commands respect through their resilience. Your approach to leadership opportunities reveals your readiness for responsibility. The person who leads by example rather than force, who serves rather than dominates, who develops others rather than just using them, demonstrates the kind of leadership that earns genuine respect. The maintenance of standards in work, relationships, and personal conduct requires constant discipline. The person who doesn't compromise quality for speed, who doesn't lower expectations for convenience, who doesn't accept mediocrity for comfort, earns respect through consistency. Your relationship with truth demonstrates ultimate discipline, speaking honestly even when it's difficult, acting with integrity even when no one is watching, and maintaining authenticity even when pretense would be easier commands the deepest respect. The endless journey. The journey toward mastery is endless. Each day provides new opportunities to choose restraint over indulgence, discipline over impulse, long-term thinking over short-term gratification. These daily choices compound into a life that commands respect and creates influence. Remember that respect earned through self-mastery is different from respect earned through achievement, wealth, or position. These external forms of respect can be lost quickly when circumstances change. But respect earned through character, through demonstrated self-control, endures because it reflects who you are, not what you have. As you walk this path of disciplined living, you'll notice that the respect of others becomes less important because you've developed genuine self-respect. This inner confidence makes you more attractive to others while making you less dependent on their approval. A paradox that increases your influence exponentially. The ultimate revelation is this: when you deny lust, you don't deny life, you claim it. You stop being a passive consumer of experiences and become an active creator of destiny. In this transformation from reactor to actor, from follower to leader, from slave to sovereign, you discover the deepest source of lasting respect. Your restraint becomes your strength. Your discipline becomes your distinction. Your self-mastery becomes your strategy for commanding not just respect, but reverence. In a world drowning in indulgence, you stand as living proof that another way exists, and that walking this way marks you as one worthy of following. If this message resonates within your soul, commit now to the path of disciplined living. Which area of your life most needs the application of restraint? Let your declaration be the first step toward the respect you seek and the influence you deserve.